Halloween is approaching, and for the Eagles, there's nothing scarier than the prospect of Malik Nabers coming back for the Giants and Dexter Lawrence rushing on the other side. Fran Duffy breaks down the Giants coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. As Julia washes down that spicy tuna with a nice cold Miller Lite, we pivot to the Eagles and the Giants. Fran Duffy in studio. How you doing, my friend?
What's up, man? I'm excited.
Good to see you.
It's a beautiful day outside. It's a great football Thursday.
It's a nice little Eagles-ish green that you're rocking.
Not really Eagles-ish.
Little Kelly Green-ish.
Pastel-y. Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Looks comfortable.
I feel like you're doing the Zach thing right now.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
fair.
how I feel
that's
about
a fair read. Yeah. It looks comfortable.
It is comfortable.
Okay, we'll hear from Zach in about 40 minutes or so. He'll give us the scoop from the locker room. We'll get ready for another edition of Swooper Forecasting and find out what microaggressions he's willing to lob my way. But until then, this is I like this show. I like the Thursday show. We get the breakdown of the opponent, both sides of the ball, how the Eagles might go about game planning. So I guess we can get into it unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, let's jump in.
Anything else to get off your chest?
No, nothing big. I'm ready to get down to business.
All right, let's get down to business. Let's start with the Eagles offense against the Giants defense. Does it go beyond Dexter Lawrence is one of the best players in football?
It does.
Okay.
He is. But it does go a little bit more than that.
I think he's awesome. He's like
really,
one of my
good.
favorite guys to watch.
Yeah.
He's so cool.
I mean, the personality too on top of it, adds to it. But for a guy that is just so big and strong, he's so powerful, and the way that he is able to just consistently push the pocket at an instant. I mean, he's so much fun to watch. And honestly, I went watching him. You can't help but think. All right, this is what you're hoping Jordan Davis can turn into
it's
down
hard
the road.
To do, I know.
But obviously, he's not there now.
Because he is a dominant run defender at that nose tackle position, but he is one of the rare nose tackles who is a difference maker as a pass rusher. It's insane. I just looking at the numbers of the quarterback hits per pass rush snap, of the 20 guys in the league who rush the passer the most, he's fourth behind Aiden Hutchinson, TJ Watt, and Max Crosby, and he's playing the nose.
Yeah, it did take him time to get there. As you pointed out on the show numerous times, that at that position, it could take time to grow into that elite talent. I was curious, so I went back and just went to the to Next Gen and just looked at some of those markers with get off and pressure rate and run stop rate and some of the GPS stuff. How does it compare his first couple of years, 2019, 2020, to Jordan Davis's first couple of years? The big thing was that he was a full-time player. He was playing on basically every down, which we have not seen from Jordan Davis.
Right.
Certainly not this year, but even the first 2 years. But the splits, the percentages, and all that stuff were pretty similar for the first couple of years. And so if you're looking at a half glass full, you're looking at say, all right, well, Jordan Davis can continue making those steps. Now, the third column there that I wanted to look at, I ended up posting those numbers on Twitter last night. The third column was, all right, what did they do in the first 5 games of year 3? You saw that Dexter Lawrence kind of made a jump, and we just haven't seen that yet from Jordan Davis.
And that's that year 3 jump we've seen elsewhere. And Quinnen Williams had the same thing. But yes, I think the fact that not only is Jordan Davis not making that jump from an efficiency standpoint, he's also not earning himself being on the field that much.
No, but we do have to remember, I mean, it was like a big debate in New York, in North Jersey, about Dexter Lawrence when it was time for his 5th-year option. Oh, should they pick it up? Like, oh, I'm not sure if they should pick it up or not. So, it was up to that point in his career where they were still unsure of whether or not he was going to make that leap, and obviously he's hitting a big way.
He's awesome, and it is especially in focus this week after the Eagles struggled to move and handle Dalvin Tomlinson against the Browns, right? So what is your expectation for what the game plan is going to look like from a Jeff Stoutland perspective in terms of handling Dexter Lawrence?
Yeah, the last couple of years when they've gone up against the Giants, and that was a Wink Martindale defense, they did a lot of gap scheme runs. So that was a lot of guards pulling, tackles pulling from the backside, double teams at the point of attack, namely on Dexter Lawrence, right? Try and get four hands on him on every single play. I would expect that they'll probably lean into that here in this one, but it is a little bit of a different defensive look with Shane Bowen now as the defensive coordinator. So it remains to be seen exactly what they'll try and do from that standpoint against Cleveland. They tried a lot of outside runs early. We saw some of those toss plays, some of those stretch plays to Saquon Barkley to try and stay away from the teeth of that Cleveland defense. It was kind of hit and miss of whether or not those were able to hit. And as we talked about the other day, they did not have a ton of success working downhill in that football game against the Cleveland Browns. And the guards just did not play well enough. They weren't able to get the front side blocks on the nose tackle, Dalvin Tomlinson. They couldn't cut off the backside defensive tackle and Shelby Harris more often than not. And so the guards will have to play better in this game going up against Dexter Lawrence and Raheem Nunez-Roches and the other guys they've got on that interior. I think when you look at the Eagles, their best version of that offense is going to be featuring that downhill run game. But if that's not there, it's going to make things hard, especially with the way they're getting after the quarterback.
It's also, I mean, for all of the advantages of having an athletic center like Cam Jurgens, this is the kind of matchup that you worry about head to head, right?
No doubt. And that's why I think that you would probably lean more into some of those gap scheme runs and try and see if you can get extra bodies at the point of attack. Two sets of hands on Dexter Lawrence at all times. He's getting doubled at the highest rate in football right now. It's like 63% or 66%, something like that. So I would expect that to continue in this game.
Is it Dexter Lawrence or is it Lawrence Dexter?
It is Dexter Lawrence.
Okay. And it's Davis Jordan?
Davis Jordan. No, I believe it's Jordan Davis.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll double check that.
Now, obviously, the Eagles in this game will be without Jordan Mailata on the outside. We expect it to be Fred Johnson. Interestingly, yesterday watching I'm always watching who's lining up where with the backup offensive lineman.
Yes.
And then I was expecting to see Driscoll back at center. Well, wasn't back at center.
Okay.
Gates was at center. Driscoll was spending time at right tackle. And I'm like, well, who's the backup left tackle? I mean, they didn't show it. So
really?
I think they're kind of keeping it private, maybe. I mean, it's like Lake and Vakalahi. It's not going to be him on game.
What's your guess?
It could be Steen. It could be Driscoll. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be Becton.
No, my guess would be Steen, right?
My guess would be Steen.
Yeah.
But it also could be Darian Kennard.
It could be. Yeah, right in the Kennards.
If Driscoll's at right tackle, then maybe Kennard would have been at left tackle later in practice. It's possible. It might be Mr. Kennard.
I do wonder at some point if they start to mix in Steen and get him more looks at guard over Becton. Not in game, but like in practice, try and get it because he's done well in game. So
that they changed the locker room.
Right.
We talked about that. Yes. Becton took the locker that was Steen's locker, the right guard, the starting right guard locker. Yeah. I mean, talk about adding insult to injury.
Yeah. I think that it's been a little bit up and down for Becton, but also Landon Dickerson hasn't played particularly well yet either. He's had his moments,
level.
To his level that we've come to expect. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been all that good either at this point. So I don't know if it's an injury or something there with Dickerson, but they will need better play from the guards here in this game.
So with it being Fred Johnson and with the Giants unfortunately having lost Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yes.
How's Brian Burns looking? What do we expect on the edge?
Burns is looking good. I know there was concern early because the first week or two, they just didn't get any pressure on the quarterback. And obviously that has flipped going the other way as they are pressuring the quarterback and hitting the quarterback at a higher rate than anybody. They lead the league in sacks right now. And Burns is a big part of that. Thibodeau was playing very, very well before his injury. That's a big loss for that team. Azeez Ojulari steps in as the starter. But one thing that stands out watching that defense is that they do a really good job. If they think that you have a weak point along that offensive line, they do a good job by alignment with the way that they line up of getting the matchup that they want. So if they want to get Brian Burns on Fred Johnson, they'll do it. If they want to get Dexter Lawrence on Fred Johnson, they will find ways to be able to line up and get that one-on-one. They have a lot of different fronts that they mix in, and they'll do it by personnel grouping. We talk about the versatility of like what the Eagles have had with Zach Bond. Oh, they line up in the 5-1, and then it's the 4-2. Well, they do the same thing with Brian Burns, where there are times where he's lined up as a natural linebacker, standing up 4 yards, 5 yards off the ball inside of a defensive end, and then he'll come down and he'll play his normal defensive end spot. He'll stand up over an interior lineman. So they're moving Burns around. All these guys up front are physical. They're all getting after the quarterback. It's going to be a tough front to go up against.
They are 9th in run DVOA on the season. And so obviously all eyes in this game on the ex-Giant, as somebody points out on the Superchat. I believe it's Chase Daniel Plainview, our friend,
CDP,
who says the Giants let a player walk to the Eagles that could have contributed to their run game. How do you expect Jack Stoll to approach his revenge game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll be picking his brain about the verbiage of the offense and some of the things that they're going to be wanting to try and do. As we know that the Eagles have done that in the past. Yeah, I mean, it's. To me, they will need to run the ball in this game because if they become one-dimensional, that's going to be a problem against this rush.
So let's talk Saquon. Yep. What are your expectations? Did you think that he looked any different last week as a part of the diminishing returns on the running game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that 2-play sequence where he just before halftime was not good, right? But as a runner, I know there was a lot made of that one play where he
runs into Landon.
Dickerson got jacked up on that play.
Yeah.
The defensive tackle.
It did look live, and I said it to Zach at the time, like he could have scored.
Yeah. So Landon was engaged with the defensive tackle. Yeah. The defensive tackle extended his arms and pushed Landon back like a good 3 feet right into the run lane where Saquon was running. So that wasn't like, oh, look at Saquon running into the back of his blockers. That was Landon Dickerson getting worked at the point of attack.
That's kind of like the coolest play that you could make as a defensive tackle, I feel like.
I think so.
It's like pushing a guy into his own teammate to make the tackle. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And honestly, Dexter Lawrence does that pretty routinely. So that's something I would expect to see in this game.
Okay, so in the passing game then, what are your expectations for how Kellen Moore will try to attack Shane Bowen? Yeah,
so Shane Bowen, coming from Tennessee, they were, for the most part, a very zone-heavy team. And I actually went back and I watched the last time Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts took on a Shane Bowen defense, and that was in the 2022 season. Tennessee comes to Lincoln Financial Field. The Eagles ended up blowing out that defense. I thought they did a really good job in that game of getting Tennessee into predictable down and distance like coverage looks. We heard Kellen Moore talk about that. You mentioned like how the reason why we played a lot of 12 personnel was because they became more predictable. I think this is a game where you want to try and do that again. And I think if you're able to do that against this New York secondary, they could be had. They put a lot of faith in Deonte Banks, who was their first-round pick a year ago. He's very talented. Obviously, he tested, through the roof. He was an outstanding athlete from a combine standpoint coming out of Maryland last year, but not a guy that I think that it always shows up on film. He kind of reminds me a little bit. He's a little bit different build, Bo, but he kind of reminds me of DRC, where like you're watching him kind of go through, and you're like, man, this guy is really gifted. Look how long he is. Look how explosive.
A little bit more muscly, right? But
yeah, a little bit
build
thicker.
Is different.
Yeah, the build is a little bit different. But I think at the end of the day, you're watching, you're like, he's just good enough to get you beat by that number one guy, right? He's just like not that type of corner. And also, I mean, the quick game, like you remember last year when the A.J. Brown went up against Forbes from Washington, it was just like
ended his career,
bullied him. Yeah, I think you can do that to Banks a little bit here in this game, and also Cordell Flott, the other corner, the starting corner on the outside, he's missed a bunch of tackles.
One of my favorite names.
That's an outstanding.
That's a Dr. Seuss name.
Cordell Flott.
Cordell Flott.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Like a doctor in Whoville. Cordell Flott. I am a big fan, though, of Drew Phillips, what he's done so far. I wasn't huge on him in Kentucky, but he's looked pretty good playing in the slot for them. So I think when you look at their outside corners, I do think the Eagles have their matchups there that they can try and win. And so if you can protect, you have those options there. If you can get into predictable coverage looks there, I think that the Eagles have shown the ability in the past to dial up some pass plays to attack those coverage schemes downfield.
So in this particular matchup, you think we might see them continue to lean into 12? You would rather keep the Giants in base potentially, or would you rather see them in nickel?
This is where the downside of like also on the outside not having like all of the data attached to the film at your fingertips, where it's like, oh, let me look at every single time when the opponent lines up in 12 and on first and 10. past midfield, what's the coverage look like? What do they like to do in the red zone against certain personnel groupings? The coaching staffs around the NFL and around college have all of that at the click of a button, and so that it get a little bit easier to try and figure out what it is that makes it predictable. So I can't say exactly what do they need to do to try and push those buttons, but whatever it is, they know, and so you want to try and get into those situations as best you can.
Now, no Dallas Goedert, presumably, in this game.
Seems that way.
It's not official yet, but yeah, that's our expectation. So, are you comfortable if Grant Calcaterra is option number 3 in the passing game? And are we ever going to see if this is the Saquon revenge game? Is this the game to try to bring him back into the passing game?
Yeah, I think you could definitely do that here in this game. I think when you look at their linebackers, if that's the matchup you're trying to get, those guys can be had. Bobby Okereke has done a nice job. I do like Okereke. It kind of reminds me of TJ Edwards. He's that kind of player, really heady. He's a great tackler, run game, pass game. He's not an outstanding athlete, but just good enough there. Mekhi Becton is the other starter next to him. He's a guy, I want to get Saquon on him as often as possible. It's a linebacker wearing number 41, big white guy in space. Love that all day. So I think that's one that you want to try and circle and see if you can get that matchup. And honestly, that might be the thing is, hey, you know what? We're going to go into 12 personnel to try and keep them in base, keep that extra linebacker on the field and see if we can get that matchup. And because I like Calcaterra against McFadden. Okay. I might like Stoll against McFadden in space. So
revenge game.
Hey, whatever buttons you got to push, you try and push them here.
So it's not going to be the Jahan Dotson breakout game.
I don't think so. They do play a decent amount of sub package. They'll lean into the dime, and that's when they get Isaiah Simmons on the field and have him roam in the middle, and they just kind of say hey, just go be an athlete out there. But I think at the end of the day, this is one where you do want to lean on those stars in the middle certainly, or on the outside.
Last thing from a game plan perspective, this Giants defense, part of what makes the fronts interesting is that they change those fronts up a lot.
Yes.
Is that a thing that we can pay attention to on Sunday?
Yeah, I think especially on third down, they like to do the double A gap looks, the little sugar in the A gap. So you can expect to see that. I mentioned they like to get into dime, so they get Isaiah Simmons on the field. They can bring him into those pressure looks, and so
try to get into dime. It's such a small coin.
It's
the smallest we've got.
It's a tight hole to be able to squeeze in there. But I think when you look at the way that they want to play, they certainly will try and get into those pressure looks. And again, that they use that to try and find your weakness along the offensive line. So if they think, hey, you know what, we want to get Dexter Lawrence on Mekhi Becton, or if they think, hey, we like what we've seen from Dickerson on tape, let's get Lawrence on Dickerson, whatever that is, they will find ways to be able to get there. Okay.
You feel good about the matchup from the Eagles' perspective?
I think they need to run the ball. They need to be able to run the ball in this game. I think if they become one-dimensional like they were last week, because they were very conservative with the way that they played the Browns. Like from a play calling standpoint, it was a lot of run game, and then it was quick vertical throws down the field, like ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands fast. My guess is they'll try and replicate that. The other thing to remember too, Jim Schwartz and Shane Bowen. Jim Schwartz, before he went to Cleveland, spent 2 years in Tennessee with Shane Bowen. He was like the senior defensive assistant. I'm sure that Bowen is watching and he's like, all right, like these are things that they did. We could try and pull that. I'm sure he had conversation with Schwartz at some point this week as well. If not already, I'm sure in the next couple of days. So that's something to watch here in this game. I would think that they'll try and find ways to be able to get after Hurts in that way.
What did you make of Lane Johnson's comments in the locker room yesterday about one of the things that they'd like to work on offensively is snapping the ball sooner?
Honestly, with the amount of time I spent on that Jalen Hurts piece on Monday and Tuesday, I had no bandwidth to be able to think about that anymore. So I did see it, and I did think about it. I would like to go and look at, because we know, like, all right, I know Daniz. I'm pretty sure Daniz had put out on Twitter like who were the quarterbacks and who are the offenses that snapped the ball latest in the pre-snap phase and all of that. And so the Eagles were second behind Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And the Jets, with Rodgers, they don't use any motion either. Mm-hmm. And so it's very difficult if you are going to. And I'm just not even talking about like the confusion aspect of like, oh, the play comes in late and then guys are rushing the line. Like there's that part of it which you don't want. But then also, if you are not going to be a motion team, you're going to be static, and you're going to wait to, like, you're giving the defense plenty of time to be able to look at what you're doing. That makes it tough, and that's why the Jets have had issues in the past as well.
All right, well said. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about that from Daniz on tomorrow's show.
Can't wait to hear it.
And we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on in this game in just a minute. On this Saturday, Saturday, October 19th. The National Thoroughbred League owns the day at Parks Racing with a lineup of 5 NTL races and Philadelphia's biggest day of racing outside of the Pennsylvania Derby. The NTL Philadelphia Cup, it's hosted by Dr. J himself, people. The Philadelphia Stallions co-owner, Julius Irving. The doctor will be in on Saturday. What can you expect at the Oktoberfest celebration this Saturday? Meet and greets with a dozen Philadelphia sports legends, including Dr. J, as well as Brian Westbrook, Freddie Mitchell, and many more. And frankly, also a few New York Giants if you feel like booing Otis Anderson, Howard Cross. Get your boo birds out. Private beer garden with great brews on tap. The NTL music stage with Philly legends and other performers. Best in Philly food offerings. Incredible art demonstrations starring Eric Waugh, the NTL's Guinness record-holding artist in residence. And of course, the most exciting day of racing anywhere this year. The NTL 10 teams from the Stallions to the New York Knights to the California Shamrocks facing off in 5 consecutive races with 3 hours of higher stakes, building excitement, cheering sections, and then the big finale. It's like nothing else in horse racing or sports today. Doors open at noon and races start at 2:30 p.m. We are partnering with NTL to give diehards exclusive access to this event. Just show your email subscription at the gates for free admission. For more information, visit ntl.racing.
So I want to talk about our friends at CJAM Construction because, as I've said numerous times here on the show, there's always some big project coming down the road when you've got your house. It could be the deck, it could be a bathroom, it could be you're remodeling a floor, you're trying to redo a basement, whatever it is. And one of the worst parts about that whole process is like going through all the different contractors and trying to figure out, all right, who's got the best price or who offers the best service, and going through all the different things that you need for your specific project. Well, the good thing is, because we're actually doing our deck next year, Bo, getting that redone, flex. Although it's a tough project to swallow. But the good thing about it is that now I'm skipping like the worst part of it because I already know now that we are covered with CJAM Construction, a family-owned home remodeler specializing in decks, bathrooms, and flooring. Their goal is to help their clients alleviate the challenges and frustrations that come with home remodeling. They know that big projects like this, they can be scary, and that's why they are running their spooky season sale until Halloween. That's October 31st on their CoreLogic luxury vinyl plank flooring. Prices are starting at $249 per square foot with savings up to 35% off retail. Taxes and fees are extra. CoreLogic flooring is 100% waterproof, formaldehyde-free, and features an elegant natural wood look and feel. It is a durable flooring with no less than a 20 mil wear layer and an overall plank thickness of 5 millimeters. If that's important to you, then you know that if you've done any of these projects, you know you get into the nitty gritty. How important this is. Very important. It's pretty big. It's pretty big. Now, be sure to mention PHLY when you call in. That number, 856-329-2933, about that next home project. Again, the number, 856-329-2933. See their full selection of luxury vinyl plank flooring and learn more about the products and warranties on their website, cjamconstruction.com/flooring.
The Giants, Fran,
yes.
I believe the only team in the league where the head coach and one of the coordinators both have Bo in their names.
I'm going to take your word on it. You would know better than me. But yeah, that sounds right.
Can you name the other head coach in the NFL who has Bo in his name, first or last name?
First or last name.
He's got Brian Daboll.
Yes.
And Shane Bowen. There are 4 other coordinators in the league who have Bo. I just did some quick wiki research.
Yeah. I'm bouncing around the leagues right now, around the teams right now.
I'll give you the coordinators. You got
ahead.
Bobby Babich.
Yeah, good one. Yep.
Brant Boyer, Jets special teams.
Wow, I didn't know we were even going.
Bobby Slowick.
Okay.
Jim Bob
Cooter.
But we're missing the other head coach.
Missing the head coach.
Eagles have played him.
Have played him?
Mm-hmm. From last year.
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles.
Of course.
Come on.
You're
not getting that insight anywhere else. Super chat from Andrew, who says, football is fine, but more importantly, favorite character in Lord of the Rings, not in the Fellowship.
Whoa. Oh, wow. Not in the Fellowship. You have no take on this, right?
I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings movies, but I haven't.
The originals.
I haven't internalized it. I'm not watching
the show is very good.
Yeah.
Season 2, Rings of Power on Amazon, came out this summer.
Okay.
Very, very good. Season 1 was a little Season 2 was very good.
Okay.
Not in the Fellowship. I'd probably go Elrond.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Hugo Weaving in the original movies.
All right.
Yeah, but I think the character in the show is very, very good.
Hard to have a funnier name than Bilbo.
I mean,
Another
guy
Bo.
with Bo.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we all know what that sounds like. Next up, super chat from Fresh Prince. Was the coaching staff comfortable leaving Grant Calcaterra at the key blocker early in the season because he was dominating Bryce Huff in training camp?
I mean, I wouldn't rule anything out. Look, he has had his moments. Like, it hasn't all been bad. I know Nick Sirianni just referenced one. Was it yesterday in the press conference where there was the one play where Saquon got in the end zone and you see Calcaterra celebrating on the ground? That's a good moment. Right. But I think when you look at Calcaterra, better as a receiver for sure.
Yes, no doubt. All right, let's talk about the other side of this matchup. And I guess the question is, how different does that Giants offense look when they do have Malik Nabers?
Very different, because they were feeding him the football. It was like almost like an unsustainable rate. Like, it was just like, there's no way this can continue. To the point where, like, you're listening to analysts, multiple people said this, was like, I'm genuinely, it's almost like feeding a running back so much. And you're like, oh, this guy's going to get hurt. Like, they were just giving him the ball so often. They were like, I don't know if this guy's going to last. And of course, he gets the concussion late in that game a couple weeks ago. But look, he missed 2 games. My guess is he's going to be back for this one. It sounds like he's, all systems go here for this week against the Eagles. So the big thing is that they were finding ways to get him the ball no matter where he lined up.
In the chat. Weighing in on the Lord of the Rings discussion.
Oh, really? What do you got? I mean, share.
Julia's going Arwen, Galadriel, Treebeard.
I got to throw in some of the female characters, obviously, but I love Treebeard. And then I was going to say Gollum, but no. But I think Arwen and Galadriel.
Arwen's a good one.
Different side of Julia today.
Yeah. I love Lord of the Rings.
It's that beer you've been chugging during the episode.
The mead, yes.
All right. Sorry.
I didn't expect the Treebeard one. That's a good one. All right, so
is it Treebeard or Beard Tree?
It is Treebeard.
Okay.
The
offense, it was unsustainable amount of times they were giving Malik Nabers the ball.
They were moving him inside and outside. Yeah. And I feel like they were getting a little bit predictable in terms of like the overall usage when he was inside and outside. Like when he was outside, a lot of vertical routes, and he's a really good vertical route runner. He's really good at being able to create separation. We'll say like after like 13, 18 yards down the field, he's really, really good at creating separation on like deep comebacks and deep curls. He's really, really good. Showed the ability to win above the rim this year. He's made some outstanding catches, in terms of those contested situations. But when they get him into the slot, and remember, when he was at LSU, everything in the slot was all vertical. There was a lot of slot fades and a lot of vertical routes down the seam. When they get him into the slot here in New York, it's a lot of option routes, little choice routes underneath where it's just Daniel Jones drops back and gets the ball out to him very, very fast. And so we'll see if that changes, if that's something that they changed in self-scouting. But when he lined up inside, it was mostly stuff that was underneath. And when he lined up outside, it was mostly stuff that was vertical. But yeah, obviously he's a really, really good player. They will have to have a plan for him, especially on third down. And the Eagles have been one of the bigger teams so far this year when it comes to like playing cover one double, having those designated double teams. Malik Nabers is a guy you're going to double team when you get the third down.
Yeah, what do you think Vic Fangio's plan is going to be for Malik Nabers in this game?
I think third down you've got to have, especially like him coming back. He's going to be thirsty for targets. He's going to want the football. You want to make sure that you've got a multiple sets of eyeballs on him. Or when you get into those money downs, they get into the red zone, all of those areas. You want to make sure that you've got, and they've used. It depends on where the guy lines up. Sometimes it was like C.J. Gardner-Johnson in an outside corner. But they've done a pretty good job. The only time where they got beat on the double was that game-winning touchdown by Drake London, where they were doubling London on like every third down in that game, especially down in the red zone. And then the late motion where they put London outside, and that forced the one-on-one against Slay, and then he beat Slay to the pylon. And so outside of that, they've been really, really good on those double teams. They don't do it all the time. Obviously, we're talking a handful of snaps a game, but I do think you'll see that in this one against Malik Nabers.
Is it in Vic Fangio's bag at all that he might think about moving Quinyon Mitchell inside if Malik Nabers goes inside? Or do you think he'll stick with Cooper DeJean and maybe give him some help?
Yeah, I think they'll probably just stick with DeJean and just because that's the way they've kind of handled it so far. Is if a guy does shift inside, then the responsibilities just change and they kind of pass off who's doing the double. But that's where the communication aspect of Cooper DeJean, where we've talked about, hey, it's a rookie. He made his first start last week. There were things that were really good from that standpoint, and some things that they still need to iron out. That'll be tested this week. If they put Nabers in motion and they have to force that communication, my guess, honestly, the Giants will probably try and do that just to try and force that extra step for the rookie.
So if Malik Nabers is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the things that you're worried about in this offense, you drop all the way down. Who's the next biggest concern?
It sounds funny, but honestly, the QB run game with Daniel Jones, it's a big part of what they do, and it's sometimes it's just QB draw.
It's not Tommy Cutlets anymore.
Read. What's that?
It's not Tommy Cutlets anymore.
No, not Tommy Cutlets. He's still there.
All right,
but you get to Daniel Jones, and it's we see like the QB, the bash QB counter read. We see QB power read. They're reading guys at the first level, the second level. Very creative quarterback run game. And Daniel Jones has beaten the Eagles with his legs in the past. We've seen that, obviously, different defenses, different schemes, but we've seen Daniel Jones.
Until he falls on his own face.
Yeah, explosive run. You don't want to get gashed by Daniel Jones. I know there's excitement around the rookie running back, Tyrone Tracy. It's been a lot of get him in space, and he can make those plays. He's not a guy that you're going to hand the ball off to and get him downhill. I don't think his vision is all that great. This is a guy that
think he needs glasses.
It might be maybe some sunglasses. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think when you look at Tracy, look at that. When you look at Tyrone Tracy, this is a guy that played receiver the majority of his time in college, moved to running back last year at Purdue when he transferred to Purdue. He was a receiver at Iowa before that. And so
old man.
Yes, old guy, the 24-year-old rookie, but he's got some juice. You get him out in the open field. He kind of reminded me of like Antonio Gibson. Gibson was a receiver, but I think even like looking at him, like the way that he runs, the smoothness in his gait, and just the way that he's able to eat up grass, I do think that he's very similar in that way to Gibson.
So other receiving concerns, Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't bother you? Darius Slayton, who's beaten the Eagles in the past, that stuff is a big concern.
Yeah, Slayton, he's really gotten better as a route runner. It was before they were very siloed in terms of the way that they used their receivers in the past, and Slayton was always like deep ball, posts, fades, that was kind of how he was used. He's gotten really good at being able to create separation in the quick game. If you give him space, it's specifically good slant routes, some good dig routes on film this year. I do think when you get up and you jam him, he still struggles to get to play through contact that way. Now, the Eagles haven't been big playing a lot of press coverage this year, but that was just something that I spotted on tape, was that at times he could get held up by the jam. So that could be something to watch. When you look at Wan'Dale Robinson, everything, it's like, it's funny, a player, the original Camp Crush, right? Damaris Johnson.
DeAndre Carter? You mean?
No. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm thinking, DeAndre Carter was, although he honestly, he fits that as well.
Yeah.
Damaris Johnson was who I was thinking of, former Eagle. And the usage, he's like a souped-up Damaris Johnson. It's a lot of slot, running back, move him around, but everything is short and underneath. There's not anything that's more than 12 yards downfield. And so, yes, he's going to get featured, but I'm not shaking my boots, getting ready for it. Heavily targeted player in that offense. So they're going to get him the ball.
Up front, like the Eagles are without their left tackle,
Yep.
So are the Giants. Andrew Thomas out for the season, probably their best player on offense. If you want to debate with Malik Nabers, that's okay. How are they going to replace him? I mean, how are they going to try to replace him?
So it sounds like what they're going to do, because they had different options there in terms of maybe they would move the right tackle DeJean Illuminor over, and then they would take Evan Neal, the former first-round pick, put him in.
What happened to Evan Neal?
He's terrible. I mean, he's bad. He's really big and he's strong, but just awful in pass protection. Teams and the Eagles just habitually just beat him every single time he took the field. Yikes. I mean, those guys were just taking turns, saying all right, I want to get in and get reps against Evan Neal. And so I would think that they would not want to get Evan Neal against the Eagles and try and open up that bag. I think that it looks like what they're going to do is they're going to take Josh Azudu, who's been kind of like a swing tackle guard for them. He's more of your physical mauler on the inside. I thought he's got feet that are probably too slow to be a starting tackle, but they're kind of hard pressed right now. They don't have great depth along the offensive line. They've completely changed out. I mean, it's 4 new starters up front now for the offense compared to last year. I would say right now their best offensive lineman is the second-year center, John Michael Schmitz, but they've got John Runyon Jr.
His name is my name too.
That's good. All right, I'll saw that one. That was a pretty good one. But they went out. They got John Runyon Jr. to play left guard. Greg Van Roten is the starting right guard. Illuminor is at right tackle. Illuminor and Van Roten, they're pretty good run blockers. They can create some movement there, so I would expect them to try and see if they can get some movement behind those guys in the run game. But both those guys could be had in pass pro. The Eagles, and that's why I think they are leaning into like a lot of quick completions, get the ball out fast, get the run game going. They're a good screen team. They've been really good with their screens. It's kind of smoke and mirrors from that standpoint. I don't think they think that their offensive line can hold up.
So if you were Vic Fangio, but you were doing the Jim Schwartz like 3 keys to victory this week, what are your keys to victory for the Eagles defense?
To me, you want to pressure Daniel Jones. Number one, I think you want to because
with one-on-one matchups, or you think you need to send heat?
Either one, both.
Okay.
I think they'll find their spots to send heat, and ideally, you'd love your front to be able to win. I mean, look, when they put Josh Azudu at left tackle, like Josh Sweat, this should be an opportunity for him to have a breakout performance from this season and look like the Josh Sweat of days before. So to me, that's a matchup you hope that they're able to win. But I look at Van Roten and I look at Runyon and I say, like, those are guards that Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, who I know he didn't practice yesterday, so I guess we'll wait to see on Milton Williams. But on these defensive tackles like Moro Jama, like they should be able to get pressure on this interior. I'd say all systems go for the front 4. This should be a nice day for those guys to be able to go out and kind of show what they could do. You had 5 sacks a week ago. Can you come back and try and build off of that? But that would be number one, pressure Daniel Jones. When he is pressured, his decision-making goes out the window. The accuracy goes out the window. Like all those metrics all go down. And so to me, that would be number one. Number 2, having the plan for Nabers. And then number 3, this is a game going back to Daniel Jones. Like they consistently turn the football over. The Eagles have not been able to take the ball away. Like this should be an opportunity. Like you have to capitalize on some of these opportunities. Like C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Quinyon Mitchell running into each other, dropped interceptions at points this season. The opportunities for sack fumble. We talked about that Cooper DeJean sack that he's coming off the edge and he's got a clean shot at quarterback Deshaun Watson and he doesn't get him down, misses the tackle. But to me, more importantly, like go for the throwing arm. Like you have the ability to get the ball on the ground. Like those are the kind of things. And honestly, that's what they practice. They practice attacking the throwing arm. They have that in their turnover circuit. And so to me, like that's a big one in this game. Key number 3 for me would be try and see if you can find some of those turnovers on the road.
Very nice job in the chat from Khalif, who has taken it and run with it and goes, whenever I go out, the people always shout, there goes John Mara Jingle Michael Schmitz.
It's very good.
Da, 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 da. He's on his way out to send money to different political campaigns. Okay. That's what John Mara does. Okay.
Correct.
Anything else on this side of the ball before we tell Zach that it's time for him to come on and then read the ads?
Then read that and then do the ad rates. Looking through my notes, I think that's the big one. I think we covered basically everything there. The one, another player that is playing a decent amount for them and has flashed a little bit is Theo Johnson, rookie 4th-round pick out of Penn State. He was a height, weight, speed guy, 6'6", almost 260 pounds, where he has shown up most as a blocker. He's really gotten after people, especially like linebackers and safeties and nickel corners, whether it's their screen game or some of their gap scheme runs. I mentioned like all the counter read and the power read stuff with Daniel Jones. A lot of times you see Theo Johnson getting up to the second level. So he would be a player I would kind of have earmarked. He's number 84, getting up to the linebackers.
All right. Zach, are you ready? Bet365, Zach, has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 different sports. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. You know they've always got those Thursday night deals. Fran, I feel like you're killing it on these Thursday night picks. Who you got tonight?
I mean, you can't pick New Orleans right now. So
Glenn Kubiak's the smartest offensive mind in the game.
Just with all the injuries, and they're just dropping like flies. So tough to pick that team.
Okay, well, you can do that as well on the Thursday night touchdown offer, where you can place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on tonight's game and get bonus bets for every touchdown. Terms and conditions apply. Use that code PHLY365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up and get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER-FRAN.
I was imagining as you were teeing up Zach previously before the ad read started that he was probably scrambling, had to turn his light on. The light's shining bright. He's ready for his hit, and then we go to the ad reads. But if that light is shining bright in his eyes, he could probably use a pair of Shady Rays sunglasses that Bo is preciously dining next to me here. We're getting less sunshine these days, obviously, as we're getting a little bit later in the year. That's true. But that doesn't mean that you can't protect you can't protect those precious little eyeballs of yours in style. Get ready for the days ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That's a sample size you can get behind. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They've got hundreds of options to choose from, so you are bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They probably have a style in your team's favorite colors. Bo, he's got these in the office every single day. We've already heard ZB. He's got his car shades that he loves so much. My wife loves a pair of sunglasses. I've got her on board with Shady Rays now as well. And there's no matter what the activity, Shady Rays has the perfect pair for you. Plus, if those shades ever go missing or they take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They've got the most insane protection of all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, you have to hear this offer. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars, again, by over 300,000 people.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We will talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock with Dane Is. And for all of us here, I forgot. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Nice to see you guys. It's great to be on the show. I really enjoyed those ads. You know, it made me think yesterday. I was on the show at the beginning with Jamie and Les, and I got on a little early, and I heard Jamie, outstanding host, talking to Julia, outstanding director of production, and Jamie says, is it okay if I do the ads at like 2:37 because Vinny's coming on at 2:40 and I don't want to keep Vinny waiting. And I thought like, wow, that was really nice of Jamie to do that. Just I don't know what made me think of that, but that's what shot to my mind just now.
We might have a new best host in the city, Jamie Lynch.
No, Bo's the best host in the city. As a matter of fact, I had a
it tracks at its Giants week with their wide receivers coach because yet another Mike Grow aggression.
I had a book signing last night. I appreciate everyone coming. It was outstanding time at Bridget's and Ambler, and a lot of people who listened to the show. And I asked for feedback, and there was a lot of different. There was a range of feedback. I can tell you this: the Fran edition very popular among the audience, as I expected. Awesome to hear that.
Love to hear it, but nothing from Bo.
Again, a lot of feedback. Boy, do they love Fran.
Yeah, that's it's a compliment. It's new. It's a new character in the show. His insight's terrific. So that was one of the great pieces of feedback.
Okay. Anything else you want to shoot across my bow here?
No, it's shooting across your bow. I was complimenting Fran. I just got off the practice field. The Eagles are practicing as we speak. What's interesting today,
What position
Jalen
were you
Carter
playing?
and reporter I was playing. And Jalen Carter not practicing today. And Darius Slay not practicing today. Eli Ricks not practicing as well. But Slay, who was limited yesterday, wasn't practicing today, something to monitor. I spoke to him afterwards, or I spoke to him before practice, I should say. We'll kind of see what happens. He didn't mention that he wasn't practicing. We'll see how he progresses tomorrow. The Jalen Carter one's new too, so that's a big one to watch. It looked like Milton Williams was practicing, so that's a positive update for the Eagles. And then I continue to operate as if Dallas Goedert's not playing this week. And so you'll see more Grant Calcaterra. Goedert wasn't out there. And then Jordan Mailata, we know is going to miss a few weeks. So the Eagles are preparing for Fred Johnson at left tackle.
I like the comment from Matt Alari in the chat, who says someone's being a little passive aggressive.
No, I wasn't being passive aggressive at all. I was reporting. I was reporting what occurred yesterday, yeah, and today, and last night. Yeah.
What did you hear in the locker room, Zach? What's the scuttlebutt? What's the ado?
Yeah, I spoke to AJ Brown, and the slow start, something that they're all focusing on. It was interesting. This is our first time talking since I was in the locker room yesterday. Lane Johnson, I thought his comments were interesting yesterday when Lane said that one of the things the offense needs to do is get to the ball quicker, and he's saying they're getting late in the shot clock there a little too much, and there's two problems there. First off, it gives the defense, it allows them to get a jump on the offense there, right? So it hurts you there, and then just the Eagles play better with tempo. Lane suggested. So certainly something to watch there. He didn't have the updated numbers, but he said earlier this season they were like last or near last in the league in terms of when they get their snap off. So I need to look up those numbers. I haven't seen that stat, but it was interesting that he brought that up in terms of how deep they go into the game clock. But
Zach, Lane knows that when he's talking about something specifically like this, that it's gonna sort of become a thing. What do you think is his intention? Is this a like the coaches need to get this stuff in sooner? Is this Jalen needs to do a better job getting us in position? What is your read on that?
Both, right? I mean, I think it's getting out of the huddle late. They're doing that sometimes, and then taking it. And you can understand from an O lineman's perspective. Look, you're one-on-one against these great edge rushers. If you're down in the game clock, then these guys can just go right at you, right? They can just time it, and so it certainly it certainly benefits Lane for them to get the snap sooner. But it also, I understand Lane's perspective too, in terms of going with tempo, and he mentioned how the defense can't prepare as much pre-snap. They can't really make adjustments pre-snap when you make that snap sooner. So, look, Lane's talking with 12 years of experience here. This is something that he knows well. He's obviously seen this from both sides. I mean, he was here during the Chip Kelly era when they snapped it very quickly. They got to the line very quickly, right? And now, and he's seen it with Doug. He's seen it now. It's something that I think they should be mindful of. I remember talking to Doug about when he was talking with, and actually this was Frank Reich. When Frank Reich was talking about tempo, he said tempo is not just like no huddle. It's getting to the line quickly, right? And catching the defense off guard. You can do quick snaps there. There's just so much more that happens when you get out of the huddle and get to the line quickly. So I thought that was interesting perspective.
I was going to say the first snap of the game against Cleveland, they came out and it was like they broke the huddle quick snap, and you saw they came out. It was like they came out in 12 personnel with both tight ends lined up out wide, and the Browns were all discombobulated. They didn't know how to line up to it, and so they were out of position to defend a toss to the left to Saquon Barkley. I agree with you, Bo, that Lane's not saying this like on a whim. He's putting this out there for a reason. But there's a lot of different things that could be taken from it. fascinating because honestly, it's another thing to throw on top of everything we talked about on Tuesday, where it's like another thing to put you behind the 8 ball to make things a little bit harder is exactly what Lane's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll also lend context too, because sometimes it helps to know what the question is, right? Because you don't want it, because there can be context associated with it, and if the question's not directly about it, but it's volunteered, then to Fran's point, it's something that he probably does want to make known. The question was, why is the offense constipated, right? And Lane kind of went in that direction in the second part of his answer, and so I thought that was noteworthy. He spoke to Landon Dickerson today about adjusting to Fred Johnson, and he said he does have a lot of symmetry or synchronization with Jordan Mailata, but he's played with Fred. Fred's similarly a big player, so there's comparisons there. I spoke to Fred yesterday about this adjustment, and he said, there is a degree. You always hear when a guy has a full week to prepare, there's a benefit to it, and he says, yeah, that's the case, but you're still going up against really good players. He mentioned like the challenge going in mid game against Myles Garrett and going 1-on-1 against him, right? And now he's got Brian Burns this week. This is another big challenge, someone that he's been studying. But there is confidence in Fred Johnson in the building, but there's definitely a drop off from Jordan Mailata to Fred Johnson.
Mekhi Becton had some interesting things to say, huh?
Yeah, no, I did not speak to Mekhi Becton. I saw the quote from Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports that he said he's not looking forward to going back to that stadium. There's nothing, he doesn't like the turf, doesn't like the stadium, and I can see that. That's a common topic from players who have played in New York there or against New York. Actually, the shortest answer A.J. Brown gave today was when he was asked about returning there, where he got injured last year. And he says it's not. He said he doesn't think about it, or I think he said no, it's not on his mind. And then that was it. He did not want to get into the detail for it. But they're like Sidney Brown, for instance. Sidney he tore his ACL there last year, right? AJ Brown had that injury last year. Mekhi Becton played there quite a bit, right? Speaking of going back to MetLife Stadium, Saquon Barkley's in the news. I have a video up. I'm going to have something on PHLY.com. Saquon's general point, I thought it was fairly honest that he doesn't know what the emotions are going to be, but it is something that he's thinking about. He does not know, or he does not think they're going to boo him, because he thinks now he knows there's going to be boos, but he thinks it's more directed at the Eagles. But it is emotionally charged. I actually caught up with James Bradbury today about the experience that Saquon Barkley is going through this week. Because
nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, Saquon, or because James Bradbury dealt with it, and James Bradbury says
scrum
exclusive.
This is a good nugget.
Yeah.
Good nugget for our show.
Yeah, you're always kind of looking for color, and or different details, like and so James said that you definitely kind of want to stick it to your old team, right? And you don't disrupt the routine that you have. But it is on your mind that, you want to show the guys you used to play with, the former team, you kind of want to stick it to them a bit. I don't think he used the term stick it to them. That's me paraphrasing here. But, to give you some context here, and this is why it tends to be like a cliche storyline when a guy's playing his former team, but it is relevant. Like, to give people some background here, I remember when A.J. Brown played against the Titans, he was downplaying it all week. And then after the game, he said, "No, it was definitely personal. Like, this is one that I have been thinking about." The James Bradbury game against the Giants, a Slay spoke to the team before the game, saying we need to win this for James, so that definitely came up. So this really is something that is relevant for Saquon. Speaking. So Mark Sanchez is calling the game, right? And I remember, I think it was Mark Sanchez when Sanchez played when Sanchez was with the Jets going back, when he was with the Eagles going back to MetLife. I think he said he didn't even know how to get to the visitors' locker room. And I was talking to Nick Gates yesterday, and Nick Gates said, yeah, he remembers when he went back with Washington, and he like started turning as if he was going to the Giants locker room. He's like, wait, I'm going the wrong way. So I just passed Saquon today because I wanted to get this nugget, and I said, do you know where you're going on Sunday? And he's like, no, he doesn't know where the visitors locker room is. Like he's going to have to figure that out when he gets there. So for a lot of these guys, there's such a routine when they go back to this place that it's kind of foreign when you're in the other locker room, when you show up there in a bus as opposed to in your car. And I'm fascinated by the Saquon storyline. I think look, I don't know Saquon well, but I've been around him now for a few months. I've spoken to him. He is introspective, and he wanted to be with the Giants for the rest of his career. Like this is going back to play against the Giants. I think there's a lot to this matchup. Like he didn't downplay it. He didn't poo-poo it. He kind of just said like he doesn't know what it's going to feel like. He's still processing the emotions, and I'm curious to see how that plays itself out.
Who do you think has more riding on this game, Zach? Nick Sirianni or Joe Schoen?
Ooh. Let's go on.
Great question, Bo. Great question. Joe Schoen. Because, and I see your point.
To be like, a driver or any service worker in the realm of John Mara on Sunday if Saquon Barkley goes for 150 yards.
Yeah, like it's not apples for apples, but A.J. Brown destroyed the Titans, and then John Robinson was fired like a few weeks later, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's not apples for apples, but that's a really good question. I wish I brought that up to Saquon. That's a good one. For Nick, I see your point. I don't think Nick's going to be like fired from after, if they lose this game.
You think he's going to be steady emotionally no matter what happens in this game? You think he's not going to take it big one way or the other?
I think Nick will be on his best behavior after the game this week. I'll put it that way. Do you disagree? Do you think he's going to be defiant?
I don't know. Is he capable of being on his best behavior?
I think Nick win or lose, Nick is going to be relatively subdued in his post-game press conference. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case 3 weeks from now or 5 weeks from now or 7 weeks from now.
Right.
But I think on Sunday, I think it's going to be an emphasis like don't
being
become
himself
the
then,
story.
though. That this is this whole
This
whole dance. This has become so ridiculous. Like,
I think what they're going to say
or not. Like,
I think they're going to say, be yourself with the team. Don't be yourself to the public. And which is a shame because I want him to be himself. Like I don't want to be hypocritical. I was critical of him screaming at the fans. You can say that that's yourself. I do think decorum matters, but I like when someone's honest and I like when someone's authentic. And like I said on Monday, the advice I would give is the Jim Harbaugh advice: be yourself. Everyone else is taken, right? So, but I do think Nick is going – I think the message will come to Nick to be yourself in front of the team, but not so much in front of the public. Now, that doesn't necessarily translate to the sideline, but I think in press conference. Yeah, which actually, like, this is where I'll push back on Nick.
I told Jack Stoll to drop that ball. That was my decision.
No, what I'm going to push back on Nick is he's like, I probably give you guys too much there. You're not giving us anything if you're not telling us the truth, right? That's not, it's not like you're really helping us out by taking the blame for something that you didn't do. Like, that's not, so I'll say to Nick, when I, like, if you want to give us something, give us the truth. Like, don't give us, you're not like, oh, I'm probably being too revealing up there by taking responsibility for something that's not yours. Like, that's not giving yourself up, or that's not helping us out.
There's enough lies in the media these days.
Oh, yeah, Zach. What was it yesterday? You did something in the media house that was political yesterday. I'm trying to remember what it was. You got political about something. Yeah,
I spoke to the media about the media policy, and it was like I was giving a stump speech kind of thing, and I said. And I made a joke, like, make sure you vote in November, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Talking about days of love and being a Patriot, all that good stuff.
Days of love. What is that?
He missed. Yeah, I didn't see last night.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else
Wait,
before we move on to Swooper?
What was last night? No, I'm curious. What was last night?
Trump did the town hall. It was a whole big thing that I'm sure you don't want to actually get into, Zach.
Okay, yeah. So, I was at a book signing until 9:30. I transcribed my stuff after that. Yeah, I was transcribing my stuff from the day until 11:30, and then I was mapping some stuff out thereafter. So yeah, I have no idea. I'm aware. I saw the front of nytimes.com today was about an interview on Fox News and then a town hall. But honestly,
maybe that'll be the next thing that Nick does after a game to celebrate a win is to eat a pet.
I don't think Nick will. I don't know the reference, but I don't think Nick.
You don't
is
know
going
the reference? Come on.
Okay. Now okay. Now I know the reference. I thought that was something that happened last night. Okay. No, this is from the debate. All right, I hear you there. What else from the locker room? Yeah, I think the Grand Cafeteria of this all is pretty interesting because look.
I do think the Grand Cafeteria of it all is pretty interesting.
I had a tweet yesterday. That in the 3 games that Dallas Goedert missed last year, the Eagles had 2 catches from tight ends. 2 catches. Okay? Like, that's bad. And they basically have the same depth chart here. Now we'll see what happens with the 3rd tight end spot. They could activate Alberto to the 53. Alberto's back at practice. He's a full participant. They have 21 days to make this decision on him. They could elevate CJ.
Shot up once that was announced.
They could elevate CJ Uzama. The way I would do it, unless you need Alberto this week, unless he has a specific role, I would elevate CJ Uzama because with Alberto you need a spot on the 53. With CJ Uzama, you can just elevate him. So I don't know if I would necessarily try to cut someone unless you were putting Goddard on IR, doing something like that. But really, the big difference, or Mailata, good point. The big difference here is, they also need a spot for Sidney Brown, presumably, at some point here, either this week or next. And so the big difference here is Grant Calcaterra steps in as opposed to Jack Stoll. You saw Grant Calcaterra was a little more dynamic in the passing game. And talking to Grant and talking to different guys in the locker room, like, this is one thing that, we kind of focus on when a player goes down, like what that means for a player who goes down. But for Grant Calcaterra's career, this is a huge opportunity, right? You've got to think this is a pass-catching tight end who's kind of been buried on the depth chart. He's tried to make the most of his role, but like if he puts together a good week or two, like that changes the complexion of his career. So there is excitement about Calcaterra. And look, if you're taking Nick true to his word, Nick has volunteered Calcaterra's name going back to the spring when he was asked about backup tight end. The first name he mentioned was Grant Calcaterra. Now, of course, Jack Stoll was with the Giants at the time, but the first name he mentioned was
even in like just wide receiver 3.
Or exactly. 4. Yeah. So I'm really curious to see Calcaterra. Then I know Swooper takes up a while, so I don't want to monopolize this time. But the one last thing is a lot of respect in that locker room for Dexter Lawrence. Saquon Barkley called Dexter Lawrence the best defensive player in football. The Eagles offensive linemen talk about what kind of force this guy is. I thought Fran had a great tweet about the comparisons between Jordan Davis and Dexter Lawrence. And if Eagles fans should hope, it's this type of trajectory. Dexter Lawrence wasn't that productive early in his career. I mean, he was a better player than Jordan Davis, but he really kind of blossomed a little later on in his career. But the comparisons go back to, look, they're both from the Charlotte area, right? They're both their scouting reports coming out were very similar descriptions. Both were part of these incredible defensive lines in college. I mean, the defense, they both had 3 first-round picks, if memory serves, on their defensive lines, but when they came out, And statistically, Jordan Davis, Dexter Lawrence were like the least productive of the guys who were drafted from those classes. So I was really hoping to speak to Jordan Davis about this yesterday or today. When I saw Fran's tweet, I'm like, Fran and I are on the same wavelength here, because I thought the same
Dexter
thing.
Lawrence did
and
leave
I thought
early,
this
Jordan Davis played an extra year of college, just to say it.
True. But that's true. The age preference is coming up again.
Not even the age.
I know you love those young
the
guys.
4 years of production we didn't
That's a
see in
development curve.
that extra year. That should be a year in which you bump, but that's all.
Yeah.
Just to say it.
Yeah. Now Dexter Lawrence was a bigger recruit, played earlier on in his career than Jordan Davis, but you are correct about that. And so Jordan was not in the locker room yesterday or today. I think there's a chance he'll be in there tomorrow, but I got to dip out early tomorrow to get to our show. So I don't know if I'll catch up on Jordan Davis on this topic tomorrow. But I do know that I brought this up by saying like the Dexter Lawrence respect is real, and it's merited. And then with Malik Nabers too, like one thing Schley said today is that he's excited for these Malik Nabers, Quinyon Mitchell matchups in the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Be fun.
Quickly on the Calcaterra, on the Grand Calcaterra of it all.
Yes.
I do. We poke fun at Jalen Trust Stoll, but I actually think one of the things that is encouraging about Grant Calcaterra is that Jalen Hurts has been willing to throw him the ball and was in the summer as well. And so, like, he hasn't done that with Jahan Dotson. Like, I actually think that there is a level of trust, not a joke, between Jalen Hurts and Grant Calcaterra.
The one throw he made to him was down the seam, middle of the field in this game.
Yeah, and look, this was a joke at one point that the Eagles were assembling Jalen Hurts' college offense. But Jalen Hurts' 1 year at Oklahoma, one of his top targets was Grant Calcaterra. A matter of fact, like when he was asked about Grant Calcaterra yesterday in his press conference, the first thing Jalen said is you have to remember this guy was like the top player coming out of the state of California at one point, right? So he knows Grant Calcaterra pretty well.
All right. As we prepare for Swooper, a shout out to the other Zach in the chat who says, condescending Bo hates Trump. Now, true.
Won't deny that.
But I'm of the two, me and Donald Trump, I'm the condescending one. Go to hell. All right.
Where would anyone get the idea you're condescending?
What's that? What's that, Zach?
So where would anyone get the idea that you're condescending? Can you hear me?
You can put a sentence together, though, so there's that.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to Swooper, we're going to listen to Ave Maria for 40 minutes, if you don't mind, Julia. Okay. All right.
I don't understand that.
Zach, you have 38 turkeys with which to work. I have 6. Fran has 31. And that is the order we're going today. Zach, Bo, Fran, and then the Deniz suggestions. Are you ready to start us off, Mr. Berman?
Yes, I am. And I also want to thank the the listeners, viewers, who have reached out to me directly over DM with some Swooper strategies.
Oh. Wow.
I read every message, and I appreciate that. Yes. I need that. Okay. But my first, and I'm not going to take all the strategies because I'm not going to make these like super obvious ones that are going to hit, but I will try to have ones with higher success rates perhaps, but still thematic.
You have had one entry hit, by the way.
Anyways.
Daniz is keeping count. You've had one hit so far.
Yes.
Nobody is more valuable than Zach.
The first one here, the Eagles score in the first quarter. Bidding starts at 2.
4.
Forgot my job. 4 turkeys.
5. Can you hear me?
5 for
What's that?
Hey, can you hear me?
5. Zach.
Couldn't hear you. But what was that, Zach?
5.
All right, 4 turkeys going once.
5 turkeys to Zach. This whole
4 turkeys going twice. All right.
You can have it for 5.
This is
You're letting him have that for
Zach.
5?
Yeah, I'll let him have it for 5.
Wow. All right. You don't believe in the Eagles offense, huh?
I got
All
the
right.
long view in mind, Bo.
Oh, I got a number. All right.
Longest view in the room.
My first submission. An Eagle in this game scores his second touchdown of the season. I'll start the bidding at 1.
Go for 2.
Can you give us the context or no?
Well, I can tell you that Paris Campbell has 1 touchdown, and everybody else has at least 2. So it could be Paris Campbell, or it could be somebody. It could be Grant Calcaterra scoring 2 touchdowns. It could be, somebody else double dipping.
Sure.
2 going once.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay. 2 going twice.
once.
Oh, good one,
All right,
Fran.
I'll take it for 2.
29 turkeys for
Yes.
Fran.
All right, my first one. Let's go to the defensive side of the football. Josh Sweat is credited with at least a half sack in this game. He's got, I believe, 3.5 sacks against the New York Giants in his career. He had none last year down the stretch. The Eagles playing the Giants in 2 of the last 3 regular season games. The Giants without Andrew Thomas in this one. We talked about the change at left tackle. So we will start the bidding at 2.
Going up against a Josh, presumably. Josh on Josh.
3.
3 to Zach.
How much was it in your game planning to give a Josh Sweat thing for Zach to bid on?
I mean, we can talk about it later, sure. 4.
4 to Fran.
5.
5 turkeys to Zach.
I'll go 6.
6 to Fran.
Can't bid.
It's got a number. The man's got a number.
6 turkeys to Fran. Going once.
You can have it.
Okay.
Sold to Fran.
The connection between Josh Sweat and the Giants is actually that devastating injury that Josh Sweat had when he was in high school. The surgery was performed actually by the Giants surgeon. He's a famous surgeon at the Hospital of Special Surgery up in New York. He works with the Giants, and he did that surgery when Josh Sweat was a high school senior down in Chesapeake.
Kind of disappointing if you get told you're going to have your surgery done by a giant surgeon and it's not a guy who's like 25 feet tall.
Not a giant surgeon, the Giants surgeon. Okay, so
Yeah, but you can imagine that'd be much more fun.
You walk in and it's
do you know anyone who's 25 feet tall? Yeah.
What's that, Zach?
Do you know anyone who's 25 feet tall?
Do I know anyone who's 25 feet tall? Only you in my mind, Zach.
He's not alive anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bo.
Okay. What's our first Daniz submission as we move on? Fran has 23. I have 6. Zach has 33.
Okay. Item number 4. The Eagles recover a fumble on defense. They are now one of the 2 teams in the league still not to have done so this year.
Of course, this was an item last week.
Yeah,
that did not hit.
Nope.
I will bid 1.
1.
Okay.
I'll go for 2.
2.
The delay is not in your favor. Is that
That's right. Yeah, I know. I'm a road player here. I get it. I get it. You deal with the crowd. You deal with the crowd noise, right?
I'll go for 3.
All right, 3 to Fran. All right, 3 to Fran going
4.
once. 4 to Zach.
4.
4 to Zach.
What's that, Zach?
4 to
4.
Zach going once. 4 to Zach going twice. You can have it.
For me, unless Bo wants to, no?
Sold.
All right. Eagles recover a fumble. Sold to Zach for 4. Over to Fran.
All right, let's go back to the offensive side. We already had one talking about the fast start in the first quarter, but let's talk about the opening drive. The Eagles get a first down or a touchdown on their opening drive on offense. That's accounting for if they scored a touchdown on the first play. So the Eagles move the ball and get a new series on the opening drive on offense. Start the bidding at 1.
And Jalen Hurts, by the way, said that the most important part of the starts to the game is the first down.
Right. There you go.
So yeah, so I would go 2.
2 to Zach.
4.
I'll go 5.
5 to Fran.
6.
6 to Zach.
I can't
You
bid.
can't go?
6 to
You have
Zach going
6, don't you?
once.
I have 6. He bid 6. I
Oh, he
can't
bid
bid
6.
7.
Oh, true. Yeah, true. 7.
7 to Fran.
Well, I already have them scoring in the first quarter, so now do I double dip to get the first down on the first drive? That's all I need. No 3 and out, right?
No 3 and out.
Or a turnover.
Or a turnover, right.
Or turnover
Or
on the
game.
first drive. Yeah, cancel again. I'll go 7. Or did
I'm
you
at
do 7?
Yeah.
You need to go 8.
You're at 7. All right, I'll do 8.
8 to Zach.
I'll go 9.
Ooh, 9 to Fran.
Bidding me up,
I mean,
Fran.
if they
I
go
don't like
3 and
that.
out again,
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
9 to
Should be
Fran
pretty
going
depressing.
once.
I will go 10.
Oh,
Whoa, 10 to
good for you,
Zach.
Zach. Go ahead, you can have it for 10.
Sold.
Look at you.
What am I at now?
19.
Okay. Shoot. All right, that's not good.
We've got plenty of turkeys.
No.
All right, for me, we've talked about Saquon's return, obviously, the normie storyline of the game. At
The
some
normie
point
storyline.
in this game, either team has exactly 26 points.
So random one.
Awesome. Oh, what a surprise! I'll start the bidding with 1.
2. I'll let you have it for 1.
2 to Fran. 2 to Fran going once. 2 to Fran going twice.
Sold.
Sold to Fran.
That's a pretty good one.
I'll take it.
All right, Zach. Or sorry, all right, Fran.
No. Fran
Wait,
went
no.
before.
Oh,
Yeah.
I messed up the order.
Yeah.
Okay.
You went
That's
snake.
my fault.
You
I
went snake.
apologize, Julia.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I figured
No,
you were snake.
That was my fault. That was my fault.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not. Swooper is not a snake.
Yeah, I was gonna speak up there, but I was like,
That's my
I
fault.
don't want to poke the bear.
Mm.
Okay. So us normies who are interested in high profile players
Do we think this is going to
returning.
be? What do we think this is going to be? Mileage between Saquon's hometown
Yeah.
and MetLife, and does he beat that in total yards?
No. So Saquon Barkley has the most rushing yards in the game for either team.
Well, that's pretty random. This is a
So
classic. You have somebody. They told you to make things that are more gettable, and and this is what you came up with.
Yeah, and I will start the bidding at 6.
Oh, icing me out.
I'll go 7.
7 to Fran.
8.
8 to Zach.
9.
9 to Fran.
Jeez. 10.
I mean, you put a thing in that it's extremely achievable, and like odds are very much in favor of it happening.
10 to Zach.
Damned if I do, damned if I
Going to
don't, right?
10.
He can have it.
You let him have it for 10?
Yep.
Wow.
Am I going again? Are we snaking or are we?
No,
No,
snake,
it's
yeah.
Denez. It's Denez now. And then it will be you after that.
Okay.
I still have my third one to put up.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
You have 21 left. Zach has 9. I have 6.
21-9-6. Got it.
Yeah.
So we're number 8, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So the
Ooh.
Eagles score on each of their first 2 drives. They rank 32nd in EPA drive on the first 2 drives and second on all drives after that combined.
Man.
I'll go 1.
1 to Bo.
I'll do 2.
2 to
Love it.
Fran. 2 to Fran going once. 2 to Fran going twice.
Wow.
You're not going to bid, Bo? 3.
Oh, 3 to Zach.
Wow.
3 to Zach going once.
First 2 drives.
3 to Zach going twice.
I'll let him have it.
Wow.
Sold to Zach.
I didn't want that one. Try to pitch Fran up.
Yeah, but
Like,
Zach, if they score in their first 2 drives, you're going to get 3 points.
Yeah. That's true.
You're loaded.
I'm aware of that.
First 2 possessions.
I was distracted by this email that I just got. Good email.
Yep.
Good
email.
email?
Good email.
I mean, obviously,
let
you
us
have
be
to
the
tell us
judge. Yeah, let
about
us be
it
the judge
now.
of that.
Read us a
The
sentence
email
from
is-
the email.
Zach, Malcolm Gladwell is taking your questions.
What?
Yeah, that's the email. Zach, Malcolm Gladwell is taking your questions. So,
Well, now you got to
I'll
tell
leave
us
it at
more.
that.
Our interest has peaked.
Well, no, it's from LinkedIn. I guess he's answering questions to LinkedIn. I'm actually going to hear Malcolm Gladwell speak. Yeah.
Are you going to ask him Swooper questions?
You got distracted by a generic LinkedIn email?
Well, I didn't know it was a LinkedIn email. I saw the headline, Zach, Malcolm Gladwell is taking your questions, but I am going next week to hear Malcolm Gladwell speak. I'm very excited for that. I got 3 terrific speakers on the docket next week. Next week's going to be a busy week of speakers for me, but excited for that one.
How have you not been hacked yet?
How have I not been hacked? What do you mean?
Zach,
What do you mean?
Malcolm Gladwell needs your password.
No. Oh, I didn't click on a link yet. But that's not.
Malcolm
This is a legitimate
Gladwell is
email.
taking your questions.
Yes, but you have to subscribe to be a LinkedIn Premium member in order to do that. So, man.
What if you could only ask Malcolm Gladwell one question? What would it be?
I'm saving that for next week when I hear him speak. Yeah. I don't want to prep for that question.
You don't want him to prep for your question?
Yeah.
All right. Zach, it's over to you.
It's over to me. Okay. The Eagles tight ends combined for at least 2 catches. And I will start the bidding at 3.
Take it for 4.
4 to Fran. 4 turkeys to Fran, going once.
6.
Oh, 6 turkeys to Zach.
I'll go 7.
7 to Fran.
Nobody else can bid.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why I went 6. Yeah.
Ah.
Okay.
It's a good bid, Fran.
Thank you. It's a good entry, Zach.
Nice compliment from the guy in last place.
So it is early in the season. That's like saying a team's going to win or lose with 8 minutes to go in the first quarter, right? There's a lot of ball game left here.
Okay. My final one. The Eagles sideline at some point in this game draws a penalty flag. I will bid 1. Could be Sirianni, could be somebody else. I don't know. Just some razzmatazz going on. I don't think anybody else is going to bid on this
Yeah, I
one.
think I'll let you have that one.
to
For
Bo.
1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I usually don't, but I'll let you have that one.
All right. Close us out, Fran. Or
Sure.
Of the
Let's go,
non-Denez portion.
Let's go back to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley leads the Eagles in rushing. We'll start the bidding at 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really
And what I had leads
you know
the
what? I don't
game
know
with
how
10.
I feel about this.
I feel like someone played the strategy of the game. The rules were laid out for everybody.
All right. All right. You know, we have tried to make this a gentleman's game. If this is how we're going to play, we're playing dirty. You've opened up Pandora's box. And
I did not know
a
that Zach
tiny
was
little
going to do
Malcolm
the leading
Gladwell was
rusher.
inside. So. All right. So you have 7 left. Zach has 6 left. I have 5 left as we approach the Denez finale.
Okay. Here's the descriptor first.
Okay.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Sealed bid second price auction. All players submit sealed bids. The highest bidder wins the item and only pays whatever the second highest bid is. The other bidders do not pay anything. Players can borrow turkeys from next week to bid. If there is a tie, each player involved in the tie pays whatever the second highest bid is in full and then gets an equal share of the point if the item hits. Everybody got it? You understand, Zach?
Yes.
Second highest.
Second highest is the price, but whoever bids the most wins.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What's the item?
Here is the item. The player who wins this item right now has at least as many of their submitted items hit this week as each of the other two players.
Oh, interesting. And
Player
the
who wins this
Dennis
item.
items don't matter. The player who wins this item right now has at least as many of their submitted items hit this week as each of the other two players. Now, is that combined or?
I think combined.
I think he
Right?
means
Or I guess it can
they
be
don't
combined.
basically they don't finish last in
Submit.
submitted items that hit.
Yes.
So Bo's not going to bid high here, huh? Player.
But
who
you
wins
have
this
both
item.
you have both tossed out some freebies
Yeah.
for yourselves, so you're in good shape.
Yeah. At least as many.
All right, has
Okay.
everybody figured out
Oh.
their
So
strategy?
basically, I would need as many to hit as Fran, essentially.
Correct.
Okay, because I'm not guessing on yours hitting. This is a tough one. Can you read Fran's items to me one more time?
Josh Sweat is credited with at least a half sack in the game. Saquon Barkley leads the Eagles in rushing. And, the Eagles get a first down or a touchdown on their opening drive on offense.
Okay.
What were yours,
And
Zach?
so mine were the Eagles score in the first quarter. Saquon Barkley has the most rushing yards in the game for either team. And the Eagles tight ends combined for at least 2 catches.
All right.
Wait. I'm trying to think of the number I'm shooting for here. Okay. All right.
And as a reminder,
Yeah.
Fran has 7. Zach, you have 6. I have 5, and we are allowed to borrow from next week.
Mm-hmm. And you pay the second highest bid.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right, Fran's in.
Everybody ready?
Wait 1 second here. Okay.
Okay, Zach's in.
All right. I'm in. I wrote it down. All right. What do we got?
Go ahead, Zach. You're on the delay.
Oh, I have 13.
Okay.
I did 20. Oh!
I did 19.
No, I didn't want it. Why did you bid it all?
Why would you bid that much?
Why? Because you want to win it. You should bid it all.
Why would you bid that much?
Oh.
I figured you were going to go low. And he wasn't going to go high.
But you should ensure that you're going to win.
I did, but I didn't think I thought you were.
There's no
way I would
downside
win
for
this.
you to bet everything.
I disagree.
Oh no! I got Zach. Oh,
Wait, you got what? You got
Oh,
Zach?
man.
That's
What a
I
disaster.
take umbrage to that characterization.
Oh, what a disaster! Oh man! So now I'm gonna be down. I'm gonna be down 15 turkeys next week. God damn it! Trump's America.
Let's not get that far.
Oh no! I mean, when I say I got Zach, I mean this is the first time I've ever had such a negative reaction to the results of a bit.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man.
You really bowed that one.
I really
As Khalif
thought
says, that's
I really
Khalif
thought
says
you were
in
going
the
to play that correctly.
I was playing it as if you were not going to be. There was no way you would want to potentially be thrown into there. So I thought he's going to take the safe way out. He's going to chalk up this week as a loss.
Oh man.
Fran and I were thinking the same. I thought it was a 2-horse race, right? So I was like, all right.
Chaos here, but obviously it came back to bite me.
Yeah, chaos did not work in your favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to all right, if I lose this, do I put Fran in a decent enough deficit that I have, I have a healthy amount of turkeys next week.
Man, you bid 19. I was going to bid 15, and then why did I goose it up to 19?
Well, that's
to
what
20?
I learned from last week because I did the even number last week thinking that'll be enough. But you did, a 17 or something. So I said, I got to make it a not even number. I didn't think Zach was going to dip into his turkeys that much for next week. I felt like that was a safe number.
I mean, this is on nobody.
Fran's good at this, man.
It's a disastrous job by me.
Yeah, Fran's good at this.
First time I've ever gotten something wrong on Swooper.
In life, in general.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, I guess that's it.
There's no coming back from this. This is Bo's done.
Fran, you have what is second touchdown that I have written down here? Zach's
an Eagle scores his second touchdown.
Oh, yeah, that was mine.
Season.
An Eagle scores his second touchdown of the season. A Josh Sweat, at least half a sack. At some point in the game, somebody has 26 points. The tight ends for the Eagles have at least 2 catches, and Saquon leads the Eagles in rushing, and you have 7 turkeys left over for next week. Zach, you have the Eagles score in the first quarter. The Eagles defense recovers a fumble. The Eagles have a first down on their opening drive. Saquon Barkley has the most rushing yards in the game, and the Eagles score points on their first 2 drives, and you have 6 turkeys remaining. I have the Eagles sideline draws a penalty flag, and the other one that I'm not going to win, and I have negative 15 turkeys for next week.
Oh, man.
What a disaster. Daniz finally got me. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. For Zach and Julia and Fran, I'm Bowie. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Daniz, the professor, in studio. Zach joining us midway through, if he can find it in his schedule. For all of us here, we thank you for watching and listening. We will talk to you later. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.